Hello, my dear friends. You're in the Military with Summary channel, and today we will discuss the situation in the world on the 11th of July of 2026. Today we have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start on Facebook.
So apparently, Russia has completely taken out Ukrainians' air defense.
We're going to talk about the situation in Ukraine, and during the previous 24 hours we received a lot of very interesting updates about the status of the Ukrainian air defense forces. And this very interesting article was published today by different military experts, and according to this picture is written in Russian, so I'll translate this picture to you. So according to this article, Ukraine has not conducted ballistic interceptions for 9 days due to the complete exhaustion of Patriot PAC-3 missile stocks. The last successful shutdown secured on July 2nd when the Patriot system destroyed 4.
Meanwhile, the media is telling everyone that Ukraine's winning the war. Let's just have a look at some of those. Putin may escalate because Ukraine is winning. First chance to win. It's the mantra being reported everywhere. Ukraine's winning. Meanwhile, the air defense is completely collapsed.
Iskander-M ballistic missiles, while spending a significant resource on attempts to shoot down hypersonic missiles of Zirkon's type. During the July 6 attack, the last launch of stocks from several interceptors was carried out, but it turned out to be ineffective. So according to this article and according to this picture, the last time when the Ukrainians intercepted the Russian ballistic missiles took place on the 2nd of July of 2026. So basically 9 days ago. Furthermore, the Russians during the 2nd of July launched 28 missiles, including 24 ballistic missiles of Iskander type and 4 hypersonic missiles of Zirkon type. And according to
Ukraine is getting pounded because Europe is basically manufacturing all these drones and then using Ukraine as a launching pad and sending them deep into Russia, and Russians are pissed. There are a lot that are saying we should just hit the factories in Europe that are making drones. So far, Russia hasn't done that. But what it has done is it's escalated the attacks against Ukraine, against Kiev itself. It's just pounded them and pounded them. And now they don't have any air defenses.
Information that we can find in the open source, the Ukrainians managed to intercept just 4 missiles. 4 days later, the Russians launched another massive attack. By the way, during the 2nd of July, it was a mega strike. If you remember, we discussed the situation. That was the mega attack carried out by Russians. As for the 6th of July, the Russians launched a massive attack. The Russians used 29 missiles, 23 ballistic missiles, and 6 hypersonic missiles. And as of the 6th of July, the Ukrainians haven't managed to intercept even a single ballistic missile. As for the 8th and 11th of July, the Russians launched regular attacks, but the Russians launched not just drones, but also...
And Russia has great intelligence. It has very advanced satellites. You can bet that these missiles are hitting valuable targets in Ukraine.
Several missiles during the 8th and 11th of July. During the 8th of July, the Russians launched 5 missiles, ballistic missiles. As for the 11th of July, the Russians used 6 ballistic missiles, and the Ukrainians during the 8th and the 11th of July hadn't brought down even a single missile. So, but you need to understand that, and we know this for sure, that the Ukrainian authorities, Zelensky himself and military of the armed forces of Ukraine claim that this situation is connected with the situation that the Western countries, the NATO organization, the United States of America, stop providing Ukraine with interceptors. So
because the United States is very short of them because of the Iran war.
The Zelensky says that due to the fact that Ukraine doesn't have PAC-3 interceptors, this is the only reason why the Ukrainians are not able to destroy Russian ballistic.
And to make it even worse, recently Poland has provided Ukraine with a bunch of their Patriot missiles without getting parliament approval. It was a big scandal in Poland. And then Russia hit and destroyed all the Patriot missiles before they could even be used.
Missiles in the air. So this is the official position of Ukraine. But today, a very interesting article was published by the source who has connections with the situation and who claims that he knows what exactly is happening in Ukraine right now with air defense forces. Let's discuss this article in details because you will be very interested and you will be shocked. So according to the source, he says...
Yeah, this is why I wanted to cover this, because this is a big claim and they haven't hit down any missiles in 9 days, and that lends a lot of credence to this.
That I have its own extremely good authority that Russia destroyed the Ukrainian Central Air Defense Command in recent attacks. Once again, the Russians destroyed the Ukrainian Central Air Defense Command. you would have noticed that suddenly there was a decrease in the accuracy and information coming from Ukrainian air defense. No more statements like 2 missiles 2 minutes away or active tracking of Russian aircraft and missiles. All Ukrainian air defense units now essentially operate individually and stand-alone units. This attack managed to deal significant damage, and the Ukrainians, according to this source and according to this article, lost many highly skilled operatives. So this is the most important idea. And you know that if you remember, since the beginning of this year, probably since the beginning of the end of the previous year, when we were discussing the situation with massive attacks, usually we discussed several things. First of all, we always talk about maps published by different sources like this map. We discussed the roads, the number of drones, missiles.
A lot of pretty maps of the attacks of Russia, because the ballistic missiles go straight, the drones take all these curvy paths,
Directions and so on. But if you remember, since the beginning of this year, I have started also discussing pictures like approximate positions of drones during this or that period of time. When we open a map where we can see drones flying over the territory of Ukraine, and we can see the approximate positions, let's say at 2 a.m., at 2:30 a.m., or at 3 a.m., or something like this. But you know that since the beginning of this month, since the end of the mega attack, for some reason, pro-Ukrainian sources stopped publishing these pictures. They continue publishing, but usually they published in the past, let's say 30 or 40 pictures during just one overnight attack, and you had a lot of information about.
So whoever was making those pictures is probably dead.
And details about massive attacks, but starting from the end of June or the beginning of July, the number of such pictures always varies between 5 and 6. So the number of pictures and the number of details about Russian drones in the sky of Ukraine dropped in 6 or 7 times in comparison with the past. So I noted the situation, but I thought that probably this situation is connected with the thing that the Ukrainians decided not to publish this information or something like this, with the purpose not to reveal some details about the structure of their defense forces of the armed forces of Ukraine. But today, the article that was published today reveals details about the current situation with Ukraine's air defense forces. And once again, most likely during the 2nd of July attack, during the mega strike that took place between the 1st and the 2nd of July of 2026, the Russians most likely managed to destroy this air defense command center. And now the Ukrainians are no longer able to control and to monitor the situation in the sky of Ukraine. They need time to train more people and to train more specialists on this matter. As for, once again, as for the mega attack that was carried out by Russians between 1st and the 2nd of July, the Russians used 570 air vehicles. The Russians attacked several objects through the western parts of Ukraine. We have a very big fire anomaly through the western parts of the city of Kiev. We have a fire anomaly and a destroyed logistic hub through the western parts of the Kiev agglomeration. We have several industrial zones attacked by Russians through the eastern parts of the city of Kiev and through the southeastern parts of the city of Kiev. As of the end of the 2nd of the 11th of July of 2026, we don't know for sure when exactly these command center, the air defense.
I wouldn't want to be in Ukraine the coming winter, because even this last winter, Russia had taken out most of Ukrainian power grid, and there were power outages across, especially in eastern Ukraine, but even in western Ukraine. And now that Ukraine doesn't have an air defense command center anymore, at least for the moment, and doesn't have any Patriot missiles, I think it's going to be a very cold winter in Ukraine this time.
Defense Command Center of the Armed Forces of Ukraine was destroyed. But due to this picture and due to this article, we believe that this attack took place on the 2nd of July, because this was the last day when the Ukrainians managed to bring down at least something. So this is a very important situation. And you know that today, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation also published a very interesting article. This article connected with the Russian ballistic strikes. And the Russians stated that today, for some reason, they published this information also today, that the Russians reported that the Russians see no barriers on the territory of Ukraine that can stop the Russian attacks or that can prevent the Russians to hit the target. So this is the statement made by the Minister of Defense, and probably the Russians from their side are trying to tell us the same thing, that between the 2nd of July, between let's say the 1st of July and the 11th of July of 2026, something was hit, something important what is by Russians, which led to the situation that the entire air defense capability of the armed forces of Ukraine has dropped significantly. Now let's move further.
All right. Well, that is all I really wanted to focus on. Is that it was a big development. The Ukraine air defense collapsed because Russia took out the command center. Big news. Contrast vividly to the stories coming out of mainstream media about Ukraine winning. Anyway, this will be a short video on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Can watch on Kick or Twitch, and I'll see you next video. Bye.